I'll show you my setup if you want. So I've got it set up like split screen, so I can see me and I can see all your questions. Anyway, we'll do the questions now. I'll go through them one at a time. So, how do you manage to stay quit for the long run and adapt a new life of avoiding cravings or situations where you are vulnerable? You don't avoid situations. This is the training that I did last time. I don't know if any of you were on the live I did in 2019 March, but that's where we came up with the steer method. And it became such a powerful tool for quitting any addictions. It's now the backbone of my quit weed program, my quit alcohol program, quit cigarette program, and quit gambling program. Well, that's kind of not really a thing anymore, because it works so well. And the answer is you don't avoid the situations, right? So if your partner smokes weed and you want to quit, or your friends invite you out, hey, come in, and you know they're going to be smoking weed or whatever, you don't avoid that. You look at it completely differently, because if you're avoiding it, you're not fixing the problem. You're not becoming a human. You're not evolving into a human that can survive with weed around them and not smoke it. You're not developing that skill. So resisting temptation isn't what you want to do either. When you go into these situations, you're going to always feel an urge, right? If you have been smoking weed every day for 10 years, your brain has built into you that you get an urge because it knows you get dopamine from doing that. Rex and Albert, the amygdala part of your brain, knows that's what keeps you alive. He's wrong, but he knows it because that gives you dopamine and huge amounts of it. So you're always going to get the urge. And the only way you can actually overcome an urge is to allow it to be. You don't resist it, right? You can't resist it. It doesn't work like that. So you want to develop up the skill. And when you do that, you're going to see these cravings or situations where you're vulnerable as just kind of gifts of power. These are going to help you. They're not going to hurt you, because you want to quit long-term and you want to be happy. You see a lot of people quit with willpower, right? And it kind of drains them. It makes them tired. So that's why the whole goal is to quit without willpower. And you need to kind of embrace the steer method that I talk about. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about with steer, does anyone know what I'm talking about with steer? Do we have like a raise hand function? Rex and Albert, I love that analogy in the program. Yeah. Me too, man. It's one of the more popular parts because that's the thing. So if you haven't heard of Rex and Albert is your prefrontal cortex part of your brain. That's the part we're dealing with now. So if you're making a plan for the future, you're making a plan for tomorrow or next week, or you're saying, I'm going to quit weed for 30 days. That's Albert talking. That's the prefrontal cortex part of your brain. Or say, you wake up hungover and you're like, I'm never going to drink again. That's Albert talking. He's like, this isn't working for my life and I want to change who the human I am being. But then with alcoholics, especially that night, they just start drinking again. Why? Because now Rex is in charge. And Rex is the small little lizard with a knife he's just like a lizard reptile child. And all he knows is dopamine. That's all he wants. And he can't think through time. He can't make a plan, and he will take control when Albert gets tired. But I might talk about that if we get a little bit of time later, because that's what works. That's what helps you quit weed forever. Like Prajwal, where's he at? How long you quit, man? We got a few people here. I think it's good. Quit 20 months. And there's no pain. Is there any resistance, Prajwal? It's not, right? It's easy. So it's not. That's the difference between quitting with willpower and quitting by becoming somebody that doesn't control urges, doesn't resist temptation, doesn't fight with an urge, and just allows it to be, learns how to be with it, because then you can actually stop the urge from coming back. And that's the whole goal. If you can resist an urge 100 times and allow it to be and count it out, right? You can have a little urge jar, or you can have a counter on your app. That's what a lot of people do. Then you will actually stop having the craving, and you've done it in a way where you're now not annoyed. You're not tired. It doesn't drain your energy to not smoke weed, right? It's funny how we are. Yeah, Prajwal says not at all. It's easy. So it's funny how a lot of people, we're in a really niche kind of area right now, right? These guys, a lot of people might just come along to this for the first time, know nothing about weed, and be like, what are these people talking about? Weed's not addictive. We know better, man. We know how it is. Okay, next question. This is from Jennifer. 233 days clean here. I hear a lot of people asking how to get through a craving without giving in. That's the part that takes a different paradigm to look at your addiction, right? You want to look at the whole thing with a new perception. So quitting is literally the ability to be with your feelings and allow them to be there. You feel them anyway. You just don't fight them, right? So when you get an urge to smoke weed, right, or a craving or whatever you want to call it, we already know that they don't last 5 minutes. We know that for a fact, right? It might come back another 20 minutes later, but you can resist an urge 5 minutes. But the best way to do it is to not resist it. You allow it to be. So an urge actually has no power. It has no power over you until you fight it. All right, this one's from emails, which is how do you increase willpower? And this is why so many people struggle for so long. You don't quit with willpower. You cannot win fighting yourself like this, like we're just talking about. If you're going to fight yourself, you're always going to lose. You cannot win and remain happy or remain satisfied or remain calm or remain cool. It's always going to piss you off. And the reason you're going to lose is because it's an urge fighting. You're fighting with yourself, right? But one side is the urge saying, smoke weed, it will make you happy. And the other side is you, it's your Albert part, which gets weak over time. That's the part saying, if I don't smoke weed, I won't be happy. So the urge is saying, smoke weed, it will make you happy. And then you're fighting it saying, don't smoke weed, it will make me unhappy. And then there's just time. You can resist it 5 minutes. Okay, that craving goes away. And it comes back 10 minutes later. It comes back when you finish eating food. It comes back any time that you usually smoke weed. It comes back just before you go to bed, or some people when they just wake up, right? You cannot win fighting yourself. And this is the Albert versus Rex way of looking at it. So this is why the steer method is so powerful. And I'll go over it a bit after, but I'm not sure that how many people here know about that. So I'm helping my son quit that's been smoking for 5 years. How can I support him? What can he expect to experience quitting? Rosalind, it depends on what the kid wants. It depends how old he is. Not a day goes by without a mother of 20 years old contacting me, asking me how can they get their son to quit. It's usually mum being mum and the kid wants nothing to do with quitting. And if that's the case, you can't really force someone to quit that doesn't want to quit. But what you can do is introduce them to new exciting ways of getting what they want in their brain. So if they're after weed all the time, they just want dopamine. But you can introduce them to a new thing called serotonin or all these other things where you can introduce them to building a new business or introduce them to a career they might enjoy or an education or a study they might do. It's the best thing you can do for a 20-year-old, because a 20-year-old's not really in the mood to listen to you. You couldn't talk me out of smoking weed when I was 20. That was my identity. I identified as a stoner. Hey, a side note, when I wrote that email, what did I write? I wrote, get your stoned ass into this webinar or something. And I got a few emails saying, ha, stoned, whatever. And I got a few emails saying, how dare you call me stoned? What is stoner? Get your stoned, whatever I said. But it's funny. It's funny how people react to things. You can only get upset by something if you, one, believe it is true, or you identify with it, right? So you believe it is true and you don't like it. So if you get mad if I call you a stoner, that means you definitely think you're a stoner and you don't want to be a stoner, right? You're exactly who I'm trying to help, but you're getting mad. If you called me when I was 20 a stoner, I'd just laugh. I'd be like, sexy stoned ass. Yeah, that's what I wrote. Some people, can you believe that actually upset someone? Okay, so next question. This one is from Gretchen. I don't know. Sorry if I butcher anyone's name. I don't mean to. Weed killed my motivation to move forward in my life with career and hobbies and exercise. How do you get to motivated in sobriety? This is a really good question. And this talks about dopamine receptors in your brain. So what happens with dopamine receptors in your brain that not a lot of people know is that the more, this happens with smoking cigarettes, this happens with weed, it happens with alcohol, and it happens with gambling. But so you're addicted to a dopamine hit. Dopamine rushes to your brain when you smoke weed. or you look forward to weed. It's even the thought of it sometimes for some people. And then your dopamine receptors fill up. And then that's just kind of how humans are wired. And the reason dopamine exists is so if I was to go on a hunt or whatever, and I get food that way, then I'll get adrenaline on the hunt, but I'll also get dopamine getting the food. And that's to tell my brain to do that again later because it gave us dopamine. It's like a reward mechanism to keep you alive. This kept you alive, this kept you alive, this kept you alive. But what humans have done is we've learned how to market dopamine through, you know, sugar, drugs, alcohol, all these things that we do, porn, or everything that just floods your brain with dopamine. If you flood your brain with dopamine in a particular way, in a specific way, every single day for a very long time, your brain begins to build more dopamine receptors because they're not useful to your brain if they're always full, right? If your dopamine receptors are just always full, they're not telling you anything. So you have many, many dopamine receptors, higher than what we can usually think about in numbers. But your brain will just make more and more of them so that it can still get a gauge on how, you know, happy you are and where you're at with your life and all that kind of thing. The problem with this is now you need more and more to get the same effect, right? You need more and more weed to get the same effect, more and more cigarettes, more and more alcohol, more and more whatever to get the same effect. This is fine if you're just smoking daily and you've got no other goal in life. But if you want to now quit weed, suddenly everything else is going to feel, it's not really going to be the same thing, right? It's not going to give you the same level of hit, the same level of what you would perceive as happiness, but it's really just pleasure. There's 3 types of happiness: pleasure, passion, and purpose. Pleasure's the trick. That's the get nothing done and feed your dopamine receptors. And we've all fallen into this trap if you're doing something every day that you don't want to do, right? That's a dopamine trap. That's what it is. So what does it say? Weed killed my motivation to move forward in my life with career and hobbies and exercise. Yeah, it literally did that physically in your brain. That's what it does. But the cool thing is, and this takes a little while, depending on how long you've smoked and you know, if you smoked every day, if you smoked for over a decade, whatever. How do you move forward in your life? With time, your brain is going to readjust again. You're going to say, well, I don't really need all these dopamine receptors active because now the dopamine levels are so low. So you might feel a little bit down for a little bit, but people perceive that differently. Some people actually get excited about it because now they have more energy, and that overrides, that actually fills their dopamine up. But if you're saying it how you're saying it, weed killed my motivation to move forward in life with careers and hobbies and exercise. How do you get motivated in sobriety? It's just time. It's just time. Your brain will readjust given enough time. How to continue to motivate yourself to stop when your spouse is a stoner himself? Really common question, because a lot of the times you create your whole life about smoking weed. And if you do that, then every single one of your friends is the same. If they don't smoke weed every day, they're not really your friend. It doesn't work. What are you going to do? You smoke weed, they don't smoke weed. You're on different wavelengths. What's the point in being friends? So if you've got yourself into that lifestyle, usually in your 20s or earlier, for me, much earlier, but for most people, 20 or late teenage years, by the time you find your partner who you're going to be with, they're going to be a stoner too. So, you know, get really clear about what you want first is probably the best answer. You got to get really clear about what you want. Do you want to have a partner that smokes weed all the time? It's fine if you do. It's fine if you don't. He's done nothing wrong. He hasn't even changed since you met. And you've done nothing wrong if you want to quit and change your lifestyle. But a change in lifestyle that dramatic can be a deal breaker in a relationship. I'm not saying to break up or anything, but get really clear about what you want first. How close is he to quitting? Is he going to trail behind in your journey, or are you going in different directions? Because very often that really is the case. A lot of people that I've been doing this 10 years. A lot of people have quit weed 4 years now, and they left who they were with because who they're with didn't want to quit. And nobody's at fault. You're just completely on different trajectories in life. So this is from Cindy. Taking your online program really helped me wean myself off weed. It took quitting a few times to really make it stick, but it's been almost 2 years and I've been free from this addiction. I did smoke a couple of times in the past 2 months in a social setting, but my relationship has completely transformed around it, and I no longer have a desire to smoke all day, every day. this is just a testimonial. It doesn't just doesn't do it for me anymore. In fact, after I smoke, most of the time, I'm like, I was all right. I think that's the direct result of committing more time to my mental health and healthier ways of receiving stress. I'm grateful for finding your program. Thanks for being a part of my recovery journey. Thank you so much, Cindy. I don't know if you're here, but that's really cool. I like when I get those kind of emails. So where was it that she said that? It's been almost a minute. She said, I did smoke a couple of times in the past 2 months in a social setting, but my relationship has completely transformed around it. That's a question that I get a lot. People are like, have you really not smoked in 10 years? And the answer is, yeah, I have, but not, you'd be like months and months and months apart, years apart. It's not a night, it's not a thing. And if it comes around me, I will usually just say, nah, I don't want it. It doesn't interest me. That's the thing. You've destroyed the urge, so it doesn't interest you. But just before COVID, I went to Thailand to an island called Koh Phangan, very small island, Koh Samui, Koh Phangan. I went to Koh Phangan and I just smoked weed there for like a whole month. And that was my intention. I went there to do that. And then I snapped out of it and came back to Indonesia, and I don't do it anymore. From Crown Chakra. I love your name, Crown Chakra, with a K. This program set up a fire under my ass and helped me see light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you, Tris. You're welcome. Actually, we're updating the program. I think it's a bit, it can be a lot better. So we're putting a lot more videos into it. I think a lot of people get more from the videos than the book. Book is being majorly updated too, but the videos are being updated. So if you've bought it in the past, you don't have to buy it again. You just get updates. You can log in again in a few weeks and it'll be completely changed. Actually, probably already updated a bit. Jen, here's my question. I've been smoking for like 25 years with a few breaks in there, but mostly chronically. My typical routine was always to get up, have coffee, wake up, and then have a smoke. That was how I always started my day. After a while, my morning started getting away from me. I became a not so morning person. I got to the point where I couldn't work at 8, had to work at 9. Then I couldn't work at 9, had to start at 10, and I slowly crept to 11, and I need to make a change. This is really typical and common of somebody that's increasing their dopamine receptors in their brain. So what's happening is you smoke weed, maybe you get up and you start to get in the habit. So it's now a morning routine habit. You smoke a joint in the morning when you wake up. That's just what you do. So you do it, and then what? You go along with your day, you do it the next day. It doesn't give the same effect, right? Probably not the next day, but week, month, this time just keeps going. So your brain gives you more dopamine receptors. Now you need more weed to get the same effect in the morning. And now you're smoking more weed, whether you realize it or not. But most people aren't counting their whatever joint, bong, bowl, whatever you're doing. People don't count it. They don't care like that. But you're doing more and more. So now there's more and more going into your system. There's more of the ganja, the black gunk going into your lungs. That's stopping oxygen. You're getting lower energy. The day is getting away from you because you keep smoking more and more. This is why people quit. This isn't heroin. People don't quit because they're lying on the ground dying. People quit because their life is getting away from them. Weed doesn't kill you. It just destroys your life, or your lifestyle, I should say. All right, should I quit weed cold turkey or gradually cut down? I made a whole YouTube video about this. This isn't up for debate. Very, obviously there's people that do it one way and people that do it the other way, but the vast majority of successful people that do it correctly quit weed cold turkey. You don't need to gradually cut down. That's not what quitting is about at all, with anything, by the way. The only exception is alcohol, because if you drink 30, 40 beers a day and then you stop suddenly, you can die. But with weed, you can't. I don't care how much you smoke, you stop now, you'll be fine. Is quitting Monday to Thursday, but still smoking weed Friday to Sunday possible for someone who has smoked every day for over 10 years? This is not a good idea if you've been smoking every day for 10 years, because my guess is you will be using willpower through the week. And then you will let it all go on the weekend. You'll be like, I can just wait to the weekend and wait to the weekend. And what you're doing is increasing the dopamine hit. You're making it a bigger deal. You're looking forward to it. You're putting it on a pedestal. You're making weed cooler than it is. I can't have it now because it's such a big reward and blah, blah, blah. And my other guess is you won't stick to it. I've seen so many people do this and they never stick to it. They just go back to every day. Suddenly you'll be on Monday, you'll be like, oh, just Monday. And then it's over, it's done, right? So no, I don't think that's a good idea. Random thoughts are common symptom to weed consumption. Absolutely. One of the biggest objections with weed is creativity. So if I'm a music artist or I'm a rap artist, I want to be the next Snoop Dogg, or I want to be a writer or whatever, right? Something that you're a painter, something that really uses creativity. A lot of people get hooked up in their brain that they need weed to be creative. They need weed for creativity. And it's pretty obvious why people think that. What weed does is you have neural pathways in your brain, right? We all understand neural pathways, right? And the reason that weed gets a reputation for helping creativity is because weed does spread out your neural pathways. It does make new connections hit that would have never hit before. This is where you can come up with a cool painting or a cool rap song or a cool, whatever you're doing. I don't care. But the negative side of that, if you do it too much and for too long, random thoughts are a common symptom to weed consumption. Yeah. And I think it's really dangerous and it can get out of hand. And this is where people can get psychosis. I actually have a friend in Australia that rang me yesterday, and she was talking to me, and she definitely has psychosis, and she's smoking weed and she's getting split personality, and it's horrible. It's not a cool thing at all. So that's when you go too far with it. Darlene says, when I try to quit cold turkey, I can't eat anything and I throw up nonstop. Even drinking water will make me puke. Marijuana has a huge effect on your metabolism. So if you quit it, and Darlene, I'm assuming you smoke every day for many years. These are the things that can happen and you can go through. But it's just like the emotions. You got to make a decision. What are you prepared to go through? Because any of these, symptoms of quitting, I guess you'd say, the withdrawals, they're temporary for sure, right? People don't walk around throwing up all day unless they smoke weed. That's not a thing in the world. But if you smoke every day for 10 years and then you quit, sure, you might go through a period where you feel these withdrawal symptoms. So you got to make that choice. What do you want to do? Do you want to end up someone that doesn't smoke weed, or do you want to end up someone that's just constantly on this roundabout of, anyone I know that's hit that point where they want to quit and then they decide not to quit because it's too hard. A week goes by, a month goes by, a year goes by, and they just come back anyway. So if you realize you're on that cycle and you don't want to waste another year being someone that smokes, you might have to go through a day or two or even 3 or 4 days of having trouble eating, and just treat it like you're sick. Have you guys had COVID? If you get COVID or you get a flu, or what do you do? You lie down, you're just sick. You're sick for a couple of days. Is that worth it? You got to make that decision. If it's not worth it, keep smoking weed. But if it is worth it, you should do it. God bless you, Tristan. I got your quit weed full packet. It's truly amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Chicago girl. Aaron, the most effective quitting program I've seen and experienced for weed. Thank you, Aaron. And you're talking to hosts and panelists too. Chicago girl. Tristan, I just got on. I had a question about how do you stay motivated if your spouse smokes like a chimney? I feel I have no real support at home, at least, and I'm so grateful to find you in the Facebook group. But however, I don't want to argue with my spouse because my journey is my journey. Yeah, I answered your question at the beginning, I think. We'll see if we can get a replay up. I don't know if we're recording. I think we are. Yeah, we are recording. But I messed up a lot of these settings. I probably messed up the recording. I'm not sure. But I'll hope to get a recording out to you or at least put it in the program. If you're a customer of the Quit Weed program, which is quit-weed.com, where is it? I don't know if you guys are all customers. I think you are. I feel like stress is my factor. Just had a baby and don't want to fall into my old habits. Your blue pill, red pill thing worked for me last time. Super smart. Thank you, Aaron. And again, you're talking to our hosts and panelists. Logan wrote, can you touch on how it affects sleep and what problems that can cause? So what weed does is it knocks you out physically, and people get confused to think that it helps you sleep. It doesn't help you sleep, because what sleep to me is where you have dreams and your brain organizes thoughts. So sleep goes in different stages because it has different purposes. A few of them are to heal your body, right? Heal your lungs that you've just put so much smoke into. Your body has to get that out, all of it. And it goes all through your blood. My friend's father just had a heart surgery where they cut your heart actually open, put veins from your leg into your heart to make it work again. He did that 2 days ago because he was smoking cigarettes. He wasn't smoking weed, he was smoking cigarettes for so long. All this shit you put in your body stays in there. All these toxins that you put in your body stays in your body, and it doesn't get out. So sleeping has a few purposes. One of them is to get all that crap out of your body and repair your body. But the most important thing, where I think you do the REM sleep, is where you do your dreaming. And I think it's your brain filing your thoughts into what's important, where does this get stored, blah, 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 blah. And this is why stoners are seen to have bad memory. You don't have a bad memory. You just have bad recall ability because you never stored the damn thought in the first place. You never really were conscious to notice the thing and put it away into a good place. Do you know what I mean? So that's what it is. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah. This is Bali. You guys come and visit Bali. Everyone's backyard looks like this. So I did a call recently where we're talking about where we're going to do Bali retreats, and obviously we can't because COVID. But that's what we would do if we do retreats, and you guys want to come down and we do a training. Everyone kind of have a place like this where you get your own pool. You got your bedroom. You can swim to the kitchen and get a coffee. This is just how it is in Bali. I don't know if you guys have been to Bali, but it's just kind of how it is. I quit for 125 days, then went hiking and had a slip. The slip turned into smoking, edibles, all that again. How do I stop? Okay, cool. So Aaron, if you made it 125 days, you're probably on one of the last times that you'll ever quit, before you succeed. You're way past the month stage. I usually have the 3 stages. If you're only making it a day, you're not making it a day, that means you never really made the decision. If you're making it a couple of weeks, it's the detox reason. You didn't detox the metabolites in the fat cells of your body, so you're getting the addiction back again. If you make it a few months and still go back, it's because you didn't replace it with a new way to get happiness that isn't pleasure. You want something passion-based or purpose-based. Good. Last question. Hey, Tristan, would you say that there are people that are more likely to get addicted? Oh, 100%, 100 million%. Yes, there are. And so the problem is people say they have an addictive personality, and I got a problem with that. You can have an addictive personality, but why identify with it? This is a whole lesson we haven't evolved already about identifying with your thoughts. Once you identify as on one of the sides of the political spectrum, which America loves to do, you are left or you are right, that's it. You suddenly just closed your options so much. You've closed your mind so much to any other possibility. But there are people that are more likely to get addicted purely because of their family history, right? They have a tendency to be more reckless, a tendency to take risks. That was me growing up. By 13, I was smoking weed. By 16, I think I was selling it. I was already a drug dealer before I was an adult. That's a risky, stupid behavior, but that's what I have in my genetics. I'm very much a risk taker. That's why, I need an online business. I do all these things, but you adapt to your thing. You don't identify with it as a victim. If I say I have an addictive personality, you're taking that riskiness in your genetics and you're calling yourself an addict, right? And if you call yourself an addict, you're already a victim to it, right? You can just be an addict. Oh, I drink all day because I'm an alcoholic. No, you've just been drinking all day. Don't identify with it. It's a behavior. It's not who you are. But to answer your question, Pat, 100%. Yes, definitely. Have you ever seen Body Breakers on HBO? Really shows the enormous problem on drugs and rehab centers. 900K commit suicide in the last 10 years. No one really talks about the stats, but suicide's a major thing, man, a major thing. And a big reason why I do what I do. Quitting addiction, I think, saves a lot of suicides. I don't know if you know my story that well. I probably wrote an email or a Facebook post about it when it happened, but my best friend growing up, he killed himself less than 2 years ago. drug related, man. And not even hard drug related. He just was a stoner. He just kept smoking weed. He couldn't see a solution. This is a good looking guy that could have made $1 million himself. He could have done so many things. And the dude just killed himself. And it just pissed me off because I was like, why didn't he just reach out to me, man? I could have talked him out of it. I know why people kill themselves. I know that I get this depression and there's chemicals and all that shit, but it's thoughts, man. It's thoughts in your head. So, not to mention last year. Yeah, suicide's crazy. Thanks for the live meeting, Tristan. We'll send an email a little while later today. Thank you, Prajwal. I will definitely read that. I'm up all day working now, so I'm so sorry for your loss. It's so sad when you see someone. Yeah, man. Tamina, thank you, Tristan. This has been really helpful. I'm going to go back to steer method. Yeah, but it's not steer, S-T-E-E-R. The way you remember it is it's misspelled, S-T-E-A-R. Method and reread. I appreciate the reminder of email support. Thank you. Yeah, S-T-E-A-R. If you guys want to check it out, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's called The Blueprint to Your Brain. The Blueprint to Your Brain. If you watch that, it's an introduction to the backbone of all of the coaching that I do in Evolve already. And it's much deeper than it looks just there. That's just a 20-minute introduction to it. But once you get this, you can talk yourself out of, if you get nervous for an event, doesn't matter. If you get a feeling to drink alcohol, doesn't matter. You need to smoke weed, it doesn't matter. You don't care about any of this shit. And then suddenly you can start setting big goals. If you were making 10 grand a year, you can make it 100 grand. If you were making 100, you can make it 1 million. You can just do it because you know how to structure it into your day to make that happen. If you're a business person, if you're a career person with a passion in a career and you sell time, you might not be able to make $1 million, but that's your priority. You don't need to do that. God bless you, brother. Have a beautiful night and may your clientele grow and live and change forever. You're an angel. You are valued. Thank you so much. God is using you immensely. I hope so, Chicago girl. I'm not a big believer, but I don't judge. I love all religions. I live in Bali. This is a Hindu island in a Muslim country. My neighbors are Christian. I love how we all get along. Does the steer method help with OCD? Yes, 100 million%. The steer method helps with absolutely everything. That's the backbone of Evolve already. I talk a lot. I didn't get through all the questions from the Facebook or the emails or I didn't even get to my Instagram DMs. I didn't get to my messenger, but I knew I'd talk too much. So thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate everyone for coming. We may do it again next week. You'll get an email from me if we do. And that's all for now. So with that, I will end it up. And thanks for coming, everyone. I really appreciate you.